So we all saw this past Monday Night Raw that the 16-time world champion John Cena made his return, long-awaited return to Monday Night Raw. And it had been years since we had seen him on the Red Show, simply because last December on the very last SmackDown, he appeared on the Blue brand. But let me just tell you that once that music hit and he came out, and unfortunately Stu wasn't there, but as soon as those horns hit, I started getting emotional. I got goosebumps watching John Cena return. A star that I've been watching for almost 20 years now. I started watching wrestling back in about January or February of 2005 at the height of the Doctor of Thugonomics era. I started watching SmackDown, so I was a big fan of Rey Mysterio, of the late great Eddie Guerrero, of John Cena himself. I saw the entire build-up, the entire rivalry and feud of Cena and JBL leading up to WrestleMania 21. WrestleMania Goes Hollywood for the very first time. I begged my father to buy WrestleMania 21 back in 2005. And then John Cena goes on to become the WWE champion. I've been a John Cena fan ever since. Even when everyone online said that Cena sucks and that he was just burying people. And that other superstars needed to go over. Much like, for example, in 2010, Team WWE versus Team Nexus. But again, I've said this before and I'll continue to say this time and time again. The energy, the feeling, the aura, the excitement, the electrifying moments that John Cena brings to WWE, specifically Monday Night Raw, is something that hasn't been equaled or rivaled in the past 20 years by anybody else. At least not on a consistent basis. We had Daniel Bryan's Yes movement. We had CM Punk during his pipe bomb era. But nothing, and in my opinion, it proved it this past Monday when Cena came out. The building just went crazy. Everyone at home, I can guarantee you, everybody watching at home knew that this was time to pay attention to the TV. It was a must-see moment, and the level of excitement went up when Cena came out. But now, a lot of wrestling fans are accusing Cena of something that he's done a lot of times in the past, and that is, did John Cena bury Austin Theory in the middle of the ring last week on Monday Night Raw? And just to answer this question as quickly as possible, no, of course he didn't. He didn't bury Austin Theory. And I thought about this long and hard, because he did mention a lot of things that caught many fans' eyes. Like, for example, that one dig at him that he'd rather have a bald spot than have WWE pipe in fake crowd noises because the crowd doesn't care about Austin Theory. Now, a lot of people point specifically at that line, at that quip, as to how and why Austin Theory was buried. But let me tell you something. Let me give you an example as to why he wasn't buried. Because just a few months ago, when Vince McMahon announced his retirement from WWE via tweet, guess what the first segment involving Theory on Monday Night Raw was? He stood face to face in the middle of the ring, still holding the Money in the Bank briefcase against the against the Bloodline and the Tribal Chief in Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns practically, you could say, it's pretty much the same thing, buried Austin Theory right there by saying that Daddy wasn't there anymore. Daddy wasn't there to watch his back anymore, so he should watch out. And guess what? Months later, almost a year later, Austin Theory is in a much better place than he was back then. He didn't get buried. He didn't become a star. That's just something that happened in the moment. And then the booking and the creative decisions made have gotten Austin Theory up to this point. Want me to go back even further? 2017, the war of words between Roman Reigns and John Cena. John Cena also buried Roman Reigns in that promo war. He called out Roman Reigns, saying that he needed to learn how to do promos because he is now the chosen guy. He is now the chosen face of WWE, and he eventually has to learn how to do this. And Roman Reigns struggled during that exchange of promos. He did struggle. And guess what? That was about 5 years ago. That was 3 years prior. Almost 4 years prior to the new and improved, unstoppable version of Roman Reigns that we have right now in the Tribal Chief. Did that bury Roman Reigns back then? No. You want to flip it on the other side? Okay, let's flip it to CM Punk. He did 2 different pipe bombs that could have buried John Cena. And guess what? Did not happen. He had the initial pipe bomb on Monday Night Raw. And then he had the contract signing with John Cena leading up to SummerSlam, where he basically called Boston native John Cena the New York Yankees. And I get it. That wasn't as hard as Cena versus Reigns, or Reigns versus Theory, or currently right now Cena versus Theory. But again, we're telling a story. We're building up characters. It's not that easy. It's not that simple to bury someone like that. Because again, creative decisions take months and months and months. A lot of people right now, a lot of fans right now are praising Austin Theory, or have been praising Austin Theory. When about 8-10 months ago, he was one of in the fans' eyes at least, he was one of the worst parts of Monday Night Raw, simply because he was Vince McMahon's protege, and they didn't like that. And Vince kept booking him, and they didn't like that. So again, I don't think John Cena buried Austin Theory. If anything, I think these kinds of promos, number 1, create headlines, which they did. Number 2, bring a stroke of reality into the show, which is something that doesn't usually happen in WWE because they're so focused on building characters and stories on what they're building up themselves. And number 3, if anything, this should light a fire under the ass of whichever superstar got dinged on. It happened with Reigns. It happened with Theory a few months ago. And that whole entire segment of, I think this was the one fail of Cena on the mic this past Monday night on Raw. Him saying that, if you lose, you lost. But if you win, you still lose because you still have to deal with the Monday Night Raw crowd after WrestleMania because you beat John Cena. And now you have to deal with that crowd. Guess what? He's going to have to deal with that crowd anyway. Whether he wins or loses, he still has to deal with it. He's just going to have different types of reactions depending on the result at WrestleMania. But again, I don't think John Cena buried Austin Theory. If anything, it brought more attention to him. It brought more eyeballs to Austin Theory. And hopefully, Theory can deliver in the coming weeks and deliver at WrestleMania itself. So with that said, those are my thoughts on the entire segment from this past Monday Night Raw. I don't think John Cena is going to make an appearance tonight on tonight's episode, so we'll just have to see how Theory rebounds from this entire back and forth from last week. As far as the segment goes, do you think Austin Theory was buried this past Monday Night Raw? Do you agree more with me in the fact that no, it's just a bump in the road? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions in the comment section below. I'm Alexis Carrillo, this is Wrestling Talk, and I'll see you next time.